So,
What letter is this?
Q.
Q. This is indeed a
I
Q.
found it.
All right. Me and Scott are in the studio.
Good afternoon.
We got some new Q posts we're going to be going over. We'll get into that right away here so we can get that covered for those of you that are here for that. All right, and we're also recording for the Patriot Hour, so this will go up right after. All right, let me... last one we went over. I wanted to show you that one, Scott, by the way. We got a one later yesterday evening. It was a phone with the EO pin, typically that we see. Will POTUS be at the CD tomorrow? We figured Camp David. 1 year Delta, matters of national security. The clock is ticking. Follow the watch. All right, we're going to jump up here to 2621.
Kavanaugh watch. Okay, geez, that's a big one.
Okay, so that was the last one, 2652. All right, I'll jump into this one. 2653, Ruth Bader Ginsburg. She's on the Supreme Court,
Yeah,
right?
she's the old justice.
Why was she selected? Who appointed her? Remember her story? Reference 230-page book called Sex Bias in the U.S. Code, published 1977 by the U.S. Commission on Civil Rights. Highlights: called for sex integration of prisons and reformators. Right here.
I don't know. Well, I'm not a grammar major.
So that conditions of imprisonment. So while they're reforming, calling for sex integration, when they're reforming these people, so does that mean blending them? Conditions of imprisonment, security, and housing could be equal, she explained, if the grand design of such institutions is to prepare inmates for return to the community as persons equipped to benefit from and contribute to civil society, then perpetuation of single-sex institutions should be rejected. So she's talking about housing females and males together.
Oh, man.
Called for these sex integration Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts because they perpetuate stereotyped sex roles, page 145. So they're breaking down her book on this, putting in for code. Insisted on sex integrating college fraternity and sorority chapters and replacing them with college social societies, page 169.
She's trying to break down the culture of home, the way we were all raised.
Yeah, cast constitutional doubt on the legality of Mother's and Father's Day as separate holidays. Called for reducing the age of consent for sexual acts to people who are less than 12. Asserted that laws against bigamist persons cohabiting more than one woman and woman cohabiting with a bigamist are unconstitutional. Objected to laws against prostitution because prostitution is a consensual act between adults, is arguably within zero zone of privacy protected by recent constitutional decisions. Ginsburg wrote the Mann Act, which punishes those who engage in interstate sex traffic of women and girls, is offensive. Such acts should be considered within the zone of privacy. Demanded that we firmly reject draft for combat exemption for women, stating women must be subject to the draft if men are. But she added the need for affirmative action and for transition measures is particularly strong in the uniform services.
This is her book?
Yeah, I guess so. Or it's it says right here, not a book, but a 230-page book, okay, called Sex Bias in the U.S. Code. Yes, she wrote a book breaking down our U.S. Code, which governs D.C. So...
Look at that one. Wanted he, she, him, her, his, and hers to be dropped down the memory hole. They must be replaced by he, she, her, him, and hers, his, and federal statutes must use the bad grammar of plural constructions to avoid third-person singular pronouns. I didn't realize how, I don't know what word I'm trying to use to describe her. I can't believe anybody would be this whacked out.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Condemn the Supreme Court's ruling in Harris v. McRae and claim that taxpayer-funded abortion should be constitutional right.
A constitutional right.
Who are the doctors currently treating RBG? What other political, former, current, or senior political heads are they affiliated with? What off-market drugs are being provided to RBG in order to sustain minimum daily function? What is a real medical diagnosis of RBG? Who is managing her care? Who's really managing her care? The clock is ticking. Panic in D.C.
Well, I can go along with, I can understand why they're probably trying to slow her, she's probably all drugged up to just kind of make her a zombie. So she's not going to step down, and maybe they need to change some kind of laws. I'm sure that's going to have to take a supermajority and then something done in the Supreme Court, but I don't believe she's in any condition to move forward. If she's that drugged up just to maintain a slow functioning life to basically preserve her seat, they don't want her dying or resigning while Trump is in office. I guess the good news is we still have a chance. We, or the country, has a chance to get him reelected, so that will put up another 4 years. So I'm almost positive she can't make it 6 more years. But hell, man, stranger things have happened.
Well, that's what I think we've even gotten hints that she'll be the next to go. I don't know. Yeah. Go ahead and read this one. What is it?
Well, it's a link, but let me read that real. Scaramucci model, ? Public opinion, optics do not matter. Temps can be very dangerous to those who are targeted. Q. So we'll click on this link and find out. Wake up to the matters of Mike Allen each day. Trump says appointing acting cabinet heads grants more flexibility. Man, he hasn't aged a bit. President Trump told reporters outside the White House on Sunday that he's in no hurry to replacing his acting cabinet secretaries with former replacements, saying, I have acting and my actings are doing really great. I sort of like acting. It gives me more flexibility. Do you understand that? ? Why it matters, Trump's Attorney General, Secretaries of Defense, and Interior, EPA head, and UN ambassador are all working in acting capacities despite being Senate-confirmed positions. The appointment of Matthew Whitaker as acting Attorney General in particular came under fire as potentially unconstitutional, even from conservative legal scholars like John Yo. And then the Washington Post reported this week that Patrick Shanahan's position as acting defense secretary could also be constitutionally murky. Furthermore, Trump, who campaigned on draining the swamp, faced criticism for his acting secretary's lobbying ties.
Again, people that all around him, not necessarily him. And were they planted there? All right, 2655. We're trying to get through these folks and we can talk a little bit about them. 2655, how many authorization FISA umbrella surveillance warrants targeting those who illegally targeted blank in the kill box are currently active? How many authorized FISA umbrella surveillance warrants targeting those who are illegally targeted are still currently active? Upstream collection can be very revealing. What that means is you get the janitor in the building, and from the move to, you can almost get everyone in the building. So upstream collection. When you no longer control the levers of power, do Five Eye, the Five Eyes surveillance system. Allies buckle and cooperate in order to preserve and maintain their future of their country, most likely. Germany losing stranglehold on your European Union. The future will not repeat the past, and the clock is ticking. All right, Scott, last one here, 2655.
Anon's new. This is just a link here. Anon's new ? President Trump, I may declare a national emergency dependent on what's going to happen in the next few days.
me grab this because we won't be able to hear it.
I won't go too far into it, but I kind of wonder if this is the 10 days of darkness. We're still, I just heard the other day that it's
I went over that, and now that we're at day 13 of the government, but still, they're saying there was an invasion on the border on New Year's Eve night, and there was no coverage. So is it a media blackout of actual fact, like we were almost invaded? They said there was a big caravan that showed up. All right, let's
see if we can get that play. It's only 38 seconds long, I think, right? I may declare a national emergency dependent on what's going to happen on the next few days.
Here it is.
I may declare a national emergency dependent on what's going to happen over the next few days. We have a meeting, Vice President Pence and a group will be going to a certain location that you know where that is, and they'll be having another meeting. I don't expect to have anything happen at that meeting, but I think we'll have, nor does the Vice President, but I think we're going to have some very serious talks come Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. We have to have border security. If we don't have border security, we're going to be crime-ridden, and it's going to get worse and worse.
I agree.
So one of our followers is saying there was 300 of them stormed, 300 illegals stormed, not illegals, well, I guess they would be illegal, but 300 people stormed the border. I don't know much about it, so I'm not going to really talk about it. Let's see here. You're resubmitting. So the I guess from that long-winded post from Ruth B. Ginsburg, that's something that I would say that everybody needs to look up and read and really read it and reread it and share it. If this is what she has been promoting, and by the way, who nominated her? Obviously, Bill Clinton nominated her. Not surprising that some of these things kind of go along with what we've talked about in the past with the Clinton cabal.
Yes.
And children from Haiti and some of the disgusting. I mean, why in the hell would you want to lower the age of consensual sex to 12? Makes no sense. Trying to say prostitution is unconstitutional and it's because it's between two consenting. That opens the door for a lot of debate, a couple of those topics, but it seems like everything she's talking about right here is dividing and reducing the family morals, separating how we were raised with good ethics and morals from our good, solid family backgrounds and what she does. It sounds like she's trying to minimize that and reduce the impact of a proper upbringing.
Yeah. Well, I would. Yeah.
Takes a village.
This was done in 1977. Yeah, it was like her opinion on
everything immoral.
Yes, it was like trying. And there you go. It's kind of like if I were the devil type of stuff. If you're removing a lot of social or people's morals that they would have and try to keep up front. So, what would you say on to take this into some of the other questions they were talking about Camp David, that video we just watched with Trump? What would you say the whole issue with the border? Like, we have this group of people that say, if we just get rid of the guns, Scott, and then when they did it in Chicago and it doesn't work, they'll go on to it's the neighboring state's fault, and if we could do it now, you just need to get them all. And we know the criminals and the police forces are not turning theirs in. It's just going to be the law abider. On the border, they want us to go down a fairy tale land of if they could just get the guns out of this area, it would be better. Then we've done it. It doesn't work. Then they want to keep expanding their ideas, and just none of it makes sense. But the border, it's like we physically got, if you want to keep it about the people illegally crossing. How
does this tie in? You think, is that the question?
It's like we physically need a border wall, but people say it's maybe racist to have the wall. So based off words, it's like, well, you're already saying Trump's racist, and we don't see that, but yet it's just a word. So,
it's an easy word to throw out there.
Can't a wall physically stop maybe the fentanyl flow, the human trafficking that comes in and out, and then also the illegal activity of people crossing? That's like, to me, in third rank, the drug flow, the human trafficking is more. But we know that could possibly, it's like a lock on our door. It's like a front, a lock on our nation's door. It's a lock on your house if you look at it that way. But they're not willing to go down like, let's just try it. Like, no,
that's what I was going to kind of ask.
It's physical to do it, but instead they use words, and we're supposed to use those words and then not do something.
So will it stop all of it? No. Will it minimize? Absolutely. So just on those two statements, I mean, that's got to be a fact. Will it minimize or slow down drugs? I mean, there's a list of it. Will it slow down or minimize the bringing in of illegal drugs? Yes. Will it physically slow down or minimize bringing in illegal citizens? Yes. Will it slow down or minimize the trafficking of children? Absolutely. I mean, so when you look at it like that, why not do it? I mean, $5 billion is I mean, it's 180 some million a year, if not more.
It's like if you take the budget that they got from taxpayers, which is taxpayers' money, and if you put it into a perspective, if that's somebody, the government's getting that, but it's like if you earn that per year, that amount that they're asking for, the $5 billion is like
$7.
Yeah.
I'll send you
50
$15
or something
I'll pay for
out of
you.
that fund. It's like for a new lock, you don't want to spend $15.
Well, I'm with you on this, and the reason why there's a certain group of people against it for two reasons. One, it absolutely will work, and it will minimize, so then they're going to look like clowns. And then we know this
exposes them.
We know this because for the last 30 years, every party, every candidate at least campaigned on it. So we do know that is one reason why they don't want it to happen, because they didn't want Trump's candidacy to be successful.
Yes.
Right. So, oh my gosh, he did something that
this is going to happen. It's going to happen on our watch.
Exactly. Kind of like nominating and getting a African American. I call him black because everybody in this country is American, so I don't fall into that racist crap. So, but it was just like when they nominated Obama. If they won, then look what we did as a party. We got the first black. But if they failed, as a party, they could say, well, the white Republicans weren't ready. So it was a win-win for them. And this is a win-win for Trump. All he's got to do is get it done, because he's gotten every other promise done. I mean, all he's doing is fulfilling. So
now, as he was on the campaign trail and telling his supporters and the people that were listening, we need to build a wall. It's going to be a nice, big, concrete, solid. And he just uses words. Now people are like, since it's looking like it's going to get done, the new spin with the media is like, Trump, you promised your supporters a solid concrete wall. Now you're talking steel slotted. That's not what you promised them.
Right.
And, and the microphone goes in his face, and it's like
preschool type stuff.
Now, think about that. If you were running and you knew the consensus was we need a border security, we need a wall, and you start rambling on when you're early on, but now you get down and you talk to the experts of that area. Trump, I've been on the wall down here for 35 years patrolling it. What we need in this area would be slotted metal, and so we can see, and okay, that makes sense. You're the expert. I'm willing to go with that.
And critters for the EP or for the animal rights activists. Yeah, I love the one. Well, rhinoceroses won't be able to migrate anymore. Get your facts right. There's not a rhinoceros in Mexico, and if it is, it's in a zoo. But yeah, it should make some of them happy, because rabbits and critters and snakes and birds. What about birds? They can't cross. What do you mean? They can't fly anymore?
I would say Trump sat there and said, "Well, if you want to get down to brass tacks, steel is more." Strong than cement. Even if we went 12 inches thick and it was solid, that still is much stronger. And if that's what they want, it's what they want. I just said something broad, so it's funny that they're starting to come in on that stuff.
They're getting into grade
semantics
school
and word porn and all that.
They can't beat him up on the principle
that he's not
of the
doing
fact.
it.
Right, the principle of the fact is, it's going to get done.
They start to make it. He's making a fence now, and people look at their backyard like, that kind of fence, that ain't going to work. No, we don't want that. It's like, no, this is badass steel.
You said it was going to be gray. In fact, it's going to be like a charcoal blue steel. So you're a lie. I mean, and then they can impeach him. See, this. I'm not saying they're going to, but these are the little tiny tidbits that they've been looking for. He's impeachable because he used the word red, and it's not really red. It's kind of violet. It's this or that. They're acting like 12-year-old children that argue over the tiny things.
Yes. Look at Q posted on this guy, like he said. Read that.
First 24 hours of Democrats in power filed articles to impeach Trump. Well, weird. And introduced a bill to kill the Electoral College. That you all need to pay attention to. Passed bill to fund government without the border wall. Voted unanimously to go home just 4 hours after taking the job. And who's worried for our country?
That's what happened yesterday.
Pay very close attention to a couple. Bring that back, or at least scroll this one down. So I want to make sure that we talk about, maybe not this episode, but I want everybody's creative juices going. They did introduce a bill to remove the electoral college, and I know this one is a hot topic, and here's how you easily defeat anybody in a debate. I don't care if it's my party, your party, whoever's party, that your candidate beat my candidate by one popular vote. I do not care. I only care if it's overwhelmingly, and I'm talking by a large percentage. Well, Scott, what percentage is that? It'd have to be 10 to 15 to 20% to make me think or care. I do not want my country being ran by New York,
L.A., Chicago. Those three right there would do it.
The point of the electoral college is to make sure that the Iowans and the Minnesotans, and the Montana, the smaller states, still have an economic voice, because what goes on in California does not work. It barely works there.
Right now, I think all three, I'm not sure, most of the, we're talking L.A., Chicago, New York, and I think one spot in Florida where all the retirees are at, like the old community.
On the Panhandle,
that would dictate our president from here on out.
And not just the president, but it would dictate
tons of things.
It would have such an economic impact. The men or women, whatever, the people in Pittsburgh hammering that steel do not work on. I travel this country, and I'm telling you, there's different pockets and sects of people and industries. What works for the Southwest does not necessarily work for the Northeast.
Yes.
And vice versa. And in the Midwest.
And then if you're pitching to these people in them cities, a lot of them, like, they're on like the bus systems. They have the bikes that you rent for.
Sure.
And then they pitch when they come across, like, we need to raise stuff for the state on emissions of cars. Everyone's like, yes, we'll sign off, because we don't even pay that anyway. We don't own cars. It's just a different, and these are sanctuary cities. They're already breaking constitutional laws. I don't know about Chicago. I don't think Chicago's a sanctuary, is it? I know L.A. is, and I know New York is.
There's a lot of things I could say about Chicago, but my beloved Cubbies are there. So,
Man,
and by the way, bear down at 4 o'clock Eastern time, or Central, I suppose it is. But you're right.
It seems unconstitutional already, and then these places are.
I've heard so many debates on that, the electoral college, and Scott, you need to get through your head. Trump, HRC beat him. Well, thank God for the electoral college. Again, I know it's beating a dead horse, but I certainly do not want. I mean, think about the people in California. How many are there? 50 million, and say there's 30-some million in New York, and another 17 million in Illinois. Those three states could potentially rule the entire country, and that is the best way to defend their electoral college. This is not a popular vote. Never has been. It goes back to Al Gore and Bush. They fought and fought and fought over those votes, and I'm thinking, it's a moot point. It doesn't matter. So if you don't understand the electoral college, and again, this is not college like a university. If you don't understand it, do a little bit of research. This is probably one scenario. Well, I'll beg you to take my word for it. This is absolutely a horrible thing that they're trying to pass. They won't pass it because it'll take supermajority, and I'm also certain that the Supreme Court comes in there somehow. But so don't let it scare you like the Second Amendment. But it is worth mentioning and talk about. This is what these idiots are. I mean, right away, let's impeach. Let's remove the electoral college. And by the way, let's get the hell out of here 4 hours from now. Can we have a raise too? Bye.
Unbelievable.
So don't panic and freak out and try to convince me that this is Trump shutdown. You guys literally don't want to do anything.
Yeah. And folks, it's just it's a real unfortunate time. So we'll see here if I don't know if Trump's already been to Camp David and left, if we're not going to get any kind of live thing. Yeah, I got the chat up now at this point.
The Bears. We follow the Bears because we're